Uh, this is our agenda, and I'm very, very grateful for yesterday Wallets meeting, because I have great feedback for what can I show and what people are interested in. So please ask any questions if you have in the whole presentation. So mainly what I want to show is connection of Arnode to MetaMask. But also I will show the whole process of checking balance and creating transfer. I will say a few words about MetaMask, and also about this relationship between revs and phlogistons. It's not super important, but we had many questions about that, so maybe we can talk about this at the end. Does have anyone questions now on the beginning? Okay, so I will start with this schematic of how the whole process is working. So the first thing is MetaMask, which is extension for Chrome or Firefox. And the role of MetaMask is to hold private keys, because private keys will never go out from MetaMask. So there are two ways to store private keys: directly as encrypted data inside the MetaMask. So this means local storage in the browser, isolated from the web page, and also with connection to hardware wallets. Even the MetaMask will never see private keys. So what is the role of a web page when it's connecting to MetaMask? It's only accessing these two things. So first, I want to say that we are not using MetaMask for all the capabilities that are currently at MetaMask. So, oops. So, for example, excuse me. So, for example, in MetaMask there is support to directly check balance of Ethereum wallet, but we are not using this part of MetaMask. We are just using MetaMask to sign our deploy for Arnode. So the first process that we're going to do on web page, on this example page, is to ask MetaMask what is the currently selected Ethereum address. Because when we have this Ethereum address, we can convert it to Rev address and use it for Arnode. This is the first part, and the second part is when we want to send data to Arnode. So in that way, we are writing the pushing data to Arnode. So we need to sign it, and so we need to send like second request to MetaMask with the data that we want to sign. So MetaMask is not giving us private key, but we are sending the data to MetaMask so that MetaMask can sign the data and give us back the signature. And then with this signed signed data, we are sending this to Arnode so that Arnode can know that we are the owner of the private keys. And we are sending two requests in this example for get balance and to send transfer. Both of these are not on the same server, so we are using a read-only node to check balance and a validator to of course to make a transfer. Does anyone have any question?
So far, it's very lucid and clear.
Okay. I can now show you how this looks on this example page. So the first part is to select on which network we want to operate and which nodes on this network we want to choose. They're all in one drop-down list. So I have local nodes for testing, which are part of this repository. And if you have Docker, you can run it by yourself. And these are the configured address. The next thing is a testing network, which Gurinder just configured HTTPS. So these are all HTTPS addresses. And the last part is the main network. Now in the main network, because we don't have SSL configured yet, there are two different sets of addresses. The first part is HTTPS, and the second part is HTTP. Because this page is on HTTPS, I must configure these settings to allow insecure content, which means that page can access HTTP from HTTPS. This is just temporary until we have SSL on the mainnet. When a specific network is selected, automatically this another dropdown shows only read-only nodes that are available in this network. So when I choose local network, here is my other node as read-only node. The second thing is just example storage of accounts or addresses. And if we have a private key, we can also use this address to create a deploy. If we don't have private key, it's just some other address that we can use to send data. I just extended this to be useful for use on this web page. So you don't need to copy paste addresses, and you can specify some name that you recognize. So this can be a demo address. And it is not stored anywhere. It's this page, if it's reloaded, all the things is lost. So the point of this page is to be example how this works. And these two sections are about checking balance and transfer. So addresses that are entered here can be selected in these dropdowns. All of these dropdowns are the same. So let's check how this works with MetaMask. So I created a new address here with private key, but also we want to connect to MetaMask. And so this process is also this process is protected, so the web page cannot just access all the MetaMask information or this address. So let me first enable MetaMask. When MetaMask is enabled on web page, we can detect when we have access to MetaMask and where the injected JavaScript is available. And this page check if MetaMask is available, and this button becomes visible. And this button, all it does is checking this Ethereum address. So it's ask MetaMask, give me what is the currently selected Ethereum address. And when we have this Ethereum address, we can convert it to Rev address. So when I click here, so the first thing is we cannot just ask MetaMask for Ethereum address. First, we need to allow permission to connection. This is part of the MetaMask. So here, the first time we are getting the address, we see this confirmation video. So if you build your own page, your domain the page on which the domain on which your page is published is saved in the MetaMask as allowed connection. So I will allow connection, and address can be read from MetaMask. I can give some name. So this is my local rev address, and on this address I have revs in my local network, and I will immediately check that. So I have 1,000 revs. I can create a new account, as I did just a minute ago, and say this is my new account. So for this account I have a private key, and it's completely new. Is empty. I will check the balance of this account. So it's 0. So now I can create just a transfer between these two addresses. So I have on my local address I have 1,000 revs, and private key is inside the MetaMask. And I have new address which I just created, and I have private key on the inside this page, and it's empty. So I want to transfer to this address. So let me. This is 12 revs. This amount is not phlogiston. It's just another representation of with smaller units of revs. So when I initiate transfer, the first thing we get from MetaMask is this window where he shows us what we want to sign. So now we want to deploy, and this deploy is going to be signed with MetaMask. So MetaMask are giving us the complete text what we are signing, and we can check that these addresses are really what we are signing. So this is the first address from which we are sending revs, and we can see that this is the same address. This address is the receiving address, and we see that this is the same address, and this is the amount that we are transferring. So I will now click sign, and also if this account in MetaMask is connected to a hardware wallet, after I click this sign, I will see on my hardware wallet action to sign this message, and with the hash of the message, as usually how MetaMask is working with hardware wallet. So now when transaction is over, we will also get this cost. So each deploy that we are sending to Arnold is charged. So this amount is really for now. This is a little confusing, and I will create a better explanation what this cost is. But this cost is really in phlogiston directly. So depending on the price specified in deploy, we need to convert these two revs if we want to know how many revs. So I was talking a lot. So do you have any questions about that?
It's exceptionally clear. I really appreciate the explanation. Okay,
so maybe I can also do this on the mainnet directly, so we can see. It's just a little longer that we need to wait, so we can also talk about phlogiston and revs. So let me just refresh the page and start from the beginning. So I will now select another address in my MetaMask where I have on mainnet revs. So I will also select one of the address for mainnet, but I will select one of the IP address until we have SSL. So I will use the default read-only node, and now I will import my MetaMask mainnet rev. Okay, let me check the balance if this is okay. Okay, so now I will create another account which is completely new, just to test transfer. So this is new account. Let me check the balance of this new account. It should be completely empty. Yes. And now I will send something again. 5 revs. Also confirming the transaction signature. I didn't mention deploy signature is for now just printed here as a text. This can be collected on the client side, so that you know, if you're building your application, when you do each of these transfer, you can collect the data, and you know, in the background you can do checking and all this stuff that is needed. I also created modification until we wait for the result. Modification of how data are acquired after the deploy, and this is interesting for Rafael and for guys who building client applications and wallets for now. I'm surprised because I don't see my fresh data here. Sorry, it seems that I didn't update it, the last version. So I will just explain what was the change. I simplified the requests that are needed for the server. So when we do send transfer or any deploy, we can ask the R node for what is the status of this deploy. And after we see that this deploy is part of the block, we can just create one request to get the data, and we can be sure that you know, we are getting the data that are in the block. So if there is no data, we are also sure that, you know, we will not get the data, which is important when we need to know is this transfer successful or not. So on mainnet, we need to wait until you know, all of the validators are accepted. Oh, insufficient funds. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, of course.
You only have 0.08.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
So,
I can create another transfer. Yeah. Okay, this is all that I have. So if someone have any question about maybe phlogiston and Rev.
well, I just wanted to ask, roughly how long did it take you to put this together?
So I was mostly testing different ways of how to acquire data and how to be more robust. But for someone else now, this is very simple. All that is needed for Ethereum communication is really this one file. This signature is just the helper to verify the signature that we get from MetaMask. So this wrapper is only that is needed for communication, to get a Rev address and to sign the data. And I think that the most difficult thing is to manage different you know, different format of data that you have. Do you have a string, a hex string, or byte array, or so? But all the other stuff are easy. So the only part that we were struggling is how to get this data from Arnold. And now where we checking the deploy, this should be much easier.
Very good, very good. Okay, all right. So but a rough estimate. It seems like in terms of time.
I think a few hours, but you know how this goes when you want to test everything, and in one day, this is like very achievable.
Very good. Okay, so this is the kind of information we want to give to the exchanges as an example.
One another part that we are still working is getting all of the transactions.
Yes.
But this will not be nothing special. It will be also done in the same way. So it's not going to be any harder.
Excellent. Very good. Well, thank you so much for the demo. That was very well done, very clear, and it looks good too. So appreciate it.
If anyone have any questions, you can ask me, especially about all of the code, because this page is really for developers and for all the others who just want to test. Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks.
So moving over to the tech update. So Tomislav mentioned like one of the items that we're working on. So we're working to expose the transaction history. So we are collecting that, we're now working to expose that information so that the exchanges can get a hold of that. We are also aggressively working to shorten the catch-up time because we have finalization. We can ask for last finalized state. So Tomislav updated me today. He's sort of going through what's necessary in order to export that state and transmit it to a requesting validator. Essentially, any would-be validator can walk up to a bonded validator and ask for the finalized state and get the corresponding finalized state from multiple. And once you have received, the lion's share of versions of the state, in terms of the stake behind those who are reporting that state, you can trust it, right? So if at least 2/3 of the stake weight report the state consistently, then you know that you have consensus behind the finalized state, and it's safe to use that state. So that's another piece that we're working on. Any questions on those two? All right, and then there's been some work to get more computations onto the main scheduler thread, or to apportion the computations more rationally or sanely with respect to the different schedulers that we have going. This is with respect to the aim of shortening the catch-up time, shortening the other things that have been taking a long time, but also it should be a step in the direction of making sure that we actually utilize the hardware resource, because currently the code doesn't utilize the hardware resource in the way that it's designed to. So this is a good step in that direction. Any questions on those things? I will point out that so NutZipper had done some work in this area, and as a result of rejiggling, reorganizing what was on the main scheduler and what was not, we discovered another replay bug. So we're going to find hopefully a quick repro on that and get that knocked out as well. One thing to note is that with the epic period set at the 250,000 blocks, the next time for bonding will be about 50 days from now. So we're going to look at ways to change that. Our assumption when we set it for 250,000 blocks, it was under the assumption that we already had 100 bonded, but of course we don't have 100 bonded, so we need to revisit that that particular choice. Any questions on that? Talkative crowd today. Finally, just a few words. We have received all of the staking transmissions. As far as I know, everyone got in, and everything has been confirmed. We'll be publishing a spreadsheet for people to review just to make sure that we've got everyone. And then at that point, well, I need to double check the dates, but people will start accumulating the rewards, either just after that or just prior to that. I need to look at the way we structured it. But thanks to all. Basically, now all of the existing nodes are staked by the community, as opposed to the co-op. So that means that there's more decentralized security behind the nodes, and we want to increase that as time goes on. There's been some interesting developments with respect to whether or not we head off to a different jurisdiction. I can't say too much about that until I have a meeting at 2 o'clock today. But it is it's a very interesting development. Daryl found a connection for us, so we'll be talking to them a little later today. Any questions on anything that I've said so far?
Great job, Daryl. My one comment.
Indeed, yes. Okay, well, unless there's any more burning questions or comments from the community, we can yield back the time. Going once?
I was wondering, Greg, are you accepting applications for additional board members at this time?
I mean, certainly people who want to be on the board should put their names forward. The board can appoint someone prior to the October meeting. So it's certainly something that can be done. So if someone is considering it, please make the board aware of your consideration, and let's the board will discuss it.
I guess you're wondering whether the governance committee should perhaps look for potential candidates or not.
Sure, if the governance committee wants to do that, that's a. I mean, there is a candidate who is considering the position, but it depends on what jurisdiction we're in.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything else from anyone? Okay, thank you so much, and talk to some of you on Friday. Should be more updates at the closed door session. Ciao for now.
Bye-bye.